of women alone in this. I've taken a lead as a boy child. I have followers who are girls. Sometimes they don't bear the challenge I bear at campus here. Sometimes my sister by my parents. I sent for her. I tell her, look, I equally go to what you're going. This will come to an end. So what is your role towards impacting positive attitude towards the people you stay with, especially girl child? You cannot dream to be a leader when there are people who are disadvantaged near you and you are not doing anything. Whichever platform I've got, I've always said that I'm a debater, I'm a public speaker by training. I loved this because debate exposed me to understanding social problems and trying to develop solutions to those problems. And part of the problems I grew up understanding is the discrimination against women. The lack of self-esteem developed by girl child. So, I'm very happy. This has not happened before here. And we had wanted to put a program like this before we were sent home last time because we had made engagement with some NGOs. After attending certain conferences, I told them, look, why do you always organize these conferences online? Maybe you have them there, yet majority of these students are physically here. Why don't you give us that chance you come and talk to students here physically? And they have actually arranged to come here and give career guidance, mentorship, but now when we were sent back, all this died. I'm very happy for the Dean of School of SDIT. At the same time, I'm not happy because we cannot claim to be busy to the extent that most of our staff members shun this kind of sitting. If these students don't see other people to actually supporting them, they also lose interest. Right from management, my cry is such programs should be taken seriously. I've realized as a leader, in Nkumba here we have a tendency. Things which are not serious, people give attention. You tell the students that there is food, or else there's a program where they're going to give money. They will come. But such kind of programs which nourish students with My dear D, I'm highly indebted to you. I don't have words to appreciate your initiative, but my cry is the rest of the staff members should take a lead from this, and we need to go forward. This is what will save our university and our students at large. Above all, when we want to have a good university, when we want to have a good nation, it will be good when we have everyone represented. Everyone has that ability to say, we can do it together, including our ladies here. Thank you very much for this organization. Whoever is going to present, do your best for our students. We are happy for your turn up here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, sir, for those wonderful remarks. You have enabled us to understand that marginalization of women is deep-rooted, and each one of us has a role to play to build the confidence among the women and encourage them to participate and to have equal opportunities in all. At this moment, I would like to invite our dear Dean of Students, Mr. Moira Joseph, to come and give us a word. You are most welcome, Mr. Moira.
Allow me to take off this for clarity and easy communication. The Dean of School of Business Administration and Information Technology, outgoing Field President and the entire Cabinet, our invited guests, the speakers for today, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you here at Nkumba University in the capacities of the Dean of Students, who is not able to be with us today because of other university commitments that he's engaged in. My name's Moira Joseph Bukera. I'm a lecturer in the School of Sciences as well as the sports tutor at Nkumba University. You are all welcome. This dialogue comes at a time T when we daily need it. Like the outgoing speaker said, there's a number of challenges happening there and there. Some of you who are good at social media, watching news, listening to news, reading papers, you must have seen quite a number of unbelievable events happening in our communities. But entirely, girl child is the most affected. I remember some time back, we had quite a number of issues to do with child sacrifice. The past 2 years that we've been in lockdown have entirely exhibited dangerous and funny scenarios. Issues to do with rape, issues to do with kidnaps, issues to do with early child pregnancies have taken the order of the day. And I remember At one time, somebody said that how wish our young daughters had remained at school. Probably all these issues would have come to pass. But I can tell you, these issues don't seem to be coming to an end soon unless we have such arrangements in our communities, in institutions of learning, such that we make communities better and better. As a dean of students, I can testify that some of these issues have been reported, and as an office, we've tried as much as possible to resolve them. Much of the issues that entirely we've always received in our university are about harassments. Harassments may take different stages. Student to student harassments, and at certain time staff harassments at all levels. And I can tell you, people have been brought on book. So to you, most especially the new ones, don't fear that I'm a lady, I'm a girl, therefore I should keep quiet when I'm harassed. The office is wide open and we are ready to listen to you and bring to order those that entirely need to be handled. We have a counseling unit just around our campus, just beside the Dean of Students office, called Munange Counseling Unit. If at all you have anything disturbing you, please don't keep quiet to die softly, but visit this unit. You will entirely be assisted as a student and any other person. When I came in here, I expected massive numbers here. But what has come to my mind, probably, even the ladies themselves have not realized what they are. Or if not, they are not sure what may happen. And I would think those of you who are here and those that are online, when you get back, please try to tell your colleagues, try to involve themselves into this. Because I know, even the communities where you come from, this is what is exactly happening. A lot of this. At the university, we are boiling pot. We believe that the information that you get here will assist those that entirely are deprived of such opportunities to put things right. This period of time that we've been in, the COVID era, has indeed exposed us to so many things. I have a class. I thought probably it was challenge for internet, that they were not attending class. But when we opened, I expected everyone back. The majority of the girls never turned back. Then the question was, what should have happened? When I went into deep into it, I realized majority of them are mothers already. I said, what is happening? And majority of them have sick, dead semesters and dead year. Who knows? next month. Again, if we get back into a lockdown, others will therefore. So the girl child is more at risk than the boy that we can testify. As a university, we took it on and realized that indeed this is a big, big issue. We have a female hostel called Navavik. Entirely, we thought we could occupy our ladies into this hostel because they are more prone to so many problems out there. From campus, from reading, as you move out of the gate, your bag is snatched and you can't even defend yourself. But surprisingly, our hostel is empty. Reasons? People want to live in comfort zone out there. And as it my phone was taken when I was moving out, when I was going after reading. The university tried to do that. So we are more concerned about your safety and all that. So we thought that could also be in position to resolve that. The Dean of Students' Office handles students' affairs. As an office, some people, I'm not saying all, some ladies, their conduct, indeed, I cannot fail to comment about it. You're going to class, but indeed, when you look at yourself entirely, you deserve to go to the beach or to a discotheque. It's as an office. Some people, I'm not saying all, some ladies, their conduct, indeed, I cannot say. You realize, sorry about that. You realize that indeed that becomes a problem. And at one time, you wonder what exactly should be done. We need to look into ourselves, what exactly we're supposed to do right, in order to put ourselves in the right shape. Because people are seeing you here today, tomorrow they expect you to be somewhere. But how and where are they going to put you? It becomes a story. As I wind up, we've been into so many of these organizations, arrangements to do sports. We have a big family for sports. And the unit that I head under the Dean of Students Office, I cannot fail to comment about it. We've had teams playing left and right in the country, out in the region, and then internationally. And our ladies teams have entirely performed greatly. We talk of volleyball, we are the kings. We talk of handball, netball, soccer ladies, basketball, we are there. I request you students to join our teams such that we build them up. And you never know, you may be somebody else in the future. In conclusion, as a department, we believe in women emancipation, we believe in women empowerment, we believe that if we move together, if we put things right, then we shall be there. I want to thank the organizers for this first and very important meeting. And please, we request those that are into it, you look into it. I thought if at all it wasn't COVID, we would have even why they need to bring our communities around. Because there's a lot happening in our communities. And how we can get into that. If we bring in the communities, there is a lot that we can actually learn from them, and probably we will do that. We need to spread this gospel as far as women empowerment is concerned. And once that is done, we shall always be there. And I guess this dialogue will give us a lot. I want to thank again our keynote speakers. Diana, we've met on so many occasions. She will introduce herself. She knows it all. I see some journalism students here. You have a lot to learn from her. I guess I've said it all. I have a lot of commitments out there. I have other meetings also to attend. I will request kindly also at certain time to be released such that I can also get into other engagements. I owe you for God and my country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miller, the representative of our Dean of Students. You have said it well, that much as there are harassments going on around the world, but at least Nkumba University has done something to contain some of the situation. Like you have mentioned, that we already have a counseling unit which will help our students in case they come in such situations. Before we move on to our next speaker, I would like to recognize the presence of one of our guest speakers who has just arrived, Madam Awati Hakim. You are most welcome. So without wastage of time, I would like to invite our dear mother, Mrs. Chibuli, to come and address Madam.
care to stop male counterparts from abusing her rights. I recall because I would cause rape, not talk back to my husband to avoid gender violence, even when ambitious in life so that I could be misunderstood by my husband, and so many other things that discourage the girl child from speaking their mind and talk about the times their rights have been abused by the male counterpart, whether at home, workplace, doesn't always say what you think you can protect the man's people, name it. Such a theme coming up today indicates that finally women's stories are believed and that someone out there is committed to realizing their rights, helping them achieve their dreams, and empowering them to be better people, teaching them and training them to stand out to who they are and what they want to be. Women never told their stories because they feared they would not be believed and are not appreciated. Today, I'm glad there are consequences for the men who abuse women. Regulatory reforms have been put forward to restore the vulnerable women. Policies should be intact to stop diminishing women. Changing things like cultural mindset is also important. Realizing gender rights for an equal future is a real challenge. We need to ask ourselves, is it even possible? What do you need to do to begin a real revolution? Who are the stakeholders that need to support the women realize their spiritual autonomy? Why do so many people think and realize feminism is negative? Feminism is about justice for everyone, fairness and equality. What do we need to do to realize it? There seems so much to do. Continue encouraging the girl child that she can be whatever she wants to be in life, no matter the gender. That the girl child should equally contribute to the growth and development of three communities in which they live, and that their impact is lifelong. Women are the mothers of nations. What more can a mother do than dreaming of raising a perfect child? Women together and build a successful nation. Stand out and be confident. Feel your own presence, influence those around you. Aspire to be a role model. Dream of changing lives. Be empowered to empower others. If you think you are wonderful, you are because of your mother. Go on, stand out, feel proud, because you are feminine. The world is what it is because of the desire to be equal, to be fair to everyone, to experience justice for all, and most of all, to have positive impact society. Lastly, women are not weak. We don't need much more protection and privilege than the male counterpart. society should stop rendering them so. In reality, everyone, male and female, deserve the same. I say equal rights for all, justice and fairness for all. Together, we can realize our equality and benefit from our autonomy. Thank you so much for listening to me. I wish you a good day of great revelations.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Chikuli, for those wonderful remarks. I think now everybody understands that you have a role to play to empower the girls and to build their confidence. Before we move on to our next speaker, I would like to recognize the presence of our current Guild speaker, current Guild President, Mr. Lawrence Mushabe. Mr. President, sir, you are most welcome. In the interest of time, I would like to invite Madam Mary Okot to come and invite our next speaker, the first guest speaker. Come and do that work for us, dear.
For purposes of record, I'm Madam Mary. Thank you, our keynote speaker. For me, when I was growing up, I saw my elder sisters. They got married and were having issues in their marriages. So when I grew, I told them, why can't you get out of the marriage? They told me they cannot because of reputation. I mean, what will the community say, you know, when they leave the marriage? So what I realized is that sometimes the community that we are in, or our society, have to understand the situations that sometimes women go through and the decisions that they make when they are faced with some situations. Our first presenter is Ms. Chibuka Diana, a senior journalist at CBS radio station. She holds a bachelor's degree in mass communication from University. She's a senior journalist working with CBS. She's a professional secondary school teacher holding a diploma from Chambogo University. She's a 3 times award winner at different media competitions. The first one is Entebbe Best Journalist Award 2015, Best Radio Documentary Award, Mass Gender Awards 2016-2017, Best Feature Story, National Population Council Media Awards 2018. She's one of the founders of Entebbe Journalists Association. She's an environmental conservationist doing work with the Uganda Wildlife Conservation Center. At this point in time, let's welcome Ms. Chibuka Diana for her presentation.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction of me, Madam Mary.
The other name I'll not mention. I may mention it not so well. Like she said, I'm Diana Chivuka. That's how people normally call me. When they are calling me, they call me both names. It's rare for a person to call me Diana. They will say Diana Chivuka, they will have to finish all their names. I'm privileged to be here. When I received the first message from now the good president, Mushabe, I was a bit hesitant. But when he went on to explain women issues, I said, okay, I'll give it my time. Although now I'm mostly taken up by environmental issues, but even then, we cannot live as females in a better way when the environment is not okay. So as women, you're going to see us fighting from different platforms. You're going to see women in politics, women in environment, women in, I don't know, whatever areas you can talk about. We are fighting at different platforms. So, this morning, I looked at the topics that as they were sent to us, and being a teacher, I've never stopped teaching, although I'm not teaching in classroom, but I teach at different platforms I get to. Reasons as to why I'm at Uganda Wildlife Conservation Education Center, that you people know as Zoo, Entebbe Zoo. It is because of the conservation education. So when I say that I'm no longer a teacher, that is wrong. I'm teaching, but at a different platform. And right now, I'm teaching. I think I'm right in that way. So basically, when you look at, the topic I'm going to look at here is education and training. Education and training in line with women empowerment, like was being presented, that was presented us here. Generation equality, realizing women's rights for an equal future. Yesterday when I posted on my platform, Facebook, social media, male colleagues that normally tease me about women issues. And then a person commented and said, okay, you've only put women presenters on your platform. Fine. Let us wait for you after the dialogue and you come back to the world of reality, where men are dominant. You hear that statement, eh? Go discuss your issues after you come back to us. We are dominant. Then another one said, don't waste time. There is nothing like equal future for gender. So, all these were all provoking statements. Eh? I slept at night thinking about them. I said, okay, fine. Men's world, I hear don't waste time with the future of everything. I said, fine, okay, there is no problem. But I'll just give you a brief story. What is disturbing the females now? Like the Dean here said, and I think the former guild president, is self-esteem. That low self-esteem in women. That's where the whole issue lies in, the whole problem comes in. And we shouldn't blame so much, but where are we coming from as women, especially in the African continent? It is because we are trying to be like that. We have a statement, women belong to the kitchen, you know? And people have misinterpreted that whole statement the way they want. To an extent that even when some of the songs that come out, people teach even through songs, you know? There is that song I do not want to hear. Yeah? Abakazi Twabe Manju, something of that kind. Which Manju are you talking about? Which kitchen are you talking about? Yes, we're supposed to be in the kitchen, but let us understand the gender and gender roles. As simple as that. Gender roles do not prohibit men from cooking. That is the reality. That's why we say, when you're married, marry a friend. As simple as that. When I'm sick, prepare me a cup of tea. Your hands will not get cut off. So it is just gender and understand gender and gender roles. The former gay president talked about the gender roles of those natural gender roles of women. Those ones you cannot run away from. I cannot impregnate myself, and I will not send my husband to go and give birth. Those are natural, and we appreciate them. We are not even saying we shouldn't be there. No, we are proud to be mothers, because men can never be mothers, and women can never impregnate men. As simple as that. So let us appreciate the natural gender roles, and also let the men appreciate their gender roles as men, and then respect one another. Going back to this topic of education and training. Sorry, before I go to that, I was talking about self-esteem. I can tell you one story of how I took a decision of stepping out of that low self-esteem. I went to girls' schools right from senior 1 to senior 6. That's where my late dad put me and my mom. You know, you can imagine a girl from senior 1 to senior 6, only girls' schools. So I only mixed with the other gender at institutional level. That is my life. So at some time, I started saying, no, I should get out of this court. You know? I should get out of this court. One decision I made, first, I've made friends for the past 4-6 years, female friends. Now most of my friends are males. That is the reality. Because I don't feel comfortable with females, they have a lot to talk about that is not building me. Even when I try to be close to them, they always push me away. So I took a decision, please females, let us stop at a cup of tea, chat a little bit, but when I'm talking serious issues, I will talk with males. Mushabe here can confirm. Congrats to Mushabe. I can say that I'm proud to stand here because at least I have met her in Mushabe. Mushabe joined us, I think, something like about 2 years back in our association, Intelligence Association. I received him. I said, fine, if you're here to work, me, I'm not a person who is in love with people who do not want to work. At times I could be hard on him, but I think he appreciated. But now, there he is, good president. For us as Intelligence Association, we are proud of him. And you can say, briefly, in Uganda, Fetuli Muchi, at Nkumba University. So basically, when you start seeing people that you're mentoring getting to those positions, you can say, yes. I did not mentor him alone. Obviously, there are some other people that mentored him. So, my story of losing the low esteem, getting off much of the female friendship aside. When I started working, we had this kind of competition, Lake Victoria, something. I don't even remember it very well. It was a beauty contest, beauty with brain. So we're moving on the street with a colleague of mine who was working in Monitor. I told Martin, you know what, I think I should participate in this competition. After all, it's talking about beauty with brains. Environmental conservation of Lake Victoria. Why can't I register? Martin was like, Diana, you're not serious. Those things don't, no. You would start undressing yourself in front of people modeling and this. I said, no, this is beauty with brains. Please don't push me. I left him talking. He stopped on the street. I entered, registered there and then. I never looked for a second thought from somebody, consult here. No. I made my decision on the street. I entered, were close to the office. I registered, and to the competition, I was there. I learned a lot from those. What you people say, those beauty contests are useless. They are not. If a beauty contest is prepared very well, it's not all about, flashing your waist on the stage, you turn your butt. No, it's beyond. We had a training 1 month seated like this at Imperial Resort. After that 1 month, I never came out the same. So that's where I say, away with low self-esteem up to now. It gave me a training that you can stand and speak and people listen. You can express yourself in all possible ways and people will understand you. So, if you have your friends going for these beauty contests, don't lower them. Let them go. If they are going with a better open mind, let them go. You never know to be a ground for them to lose this low self-esteem in women. This is COVID-19. They didn't talk about it very well. When we're looking at education and training, we are asking ourselves, where are we as females after COVID-19? When the schools open, are we seeing the girls getting back to school? Or we are continuing to marry them off? Or they will continue hiding because they have gotten pregnant and then they cannot come back to school? The male gender, are you assisting the females to get out of that, a kind of self-blame, I'm pregnant, I cannot go back, I gave birth, I cannot go back? How are you helping this gender, your female counterparts? Are you teasing them over their pregnancies, over their being mothers now? So how are you helping them? That is the most important question. That after COVID-19, the schools are open. Can we all stand together as the whole gender, male, female, and support these projections, 11 million girls? That is what UNESCO is projecting. Now had to sit, women had to come in, and that's where we started the fight. Mid-19th century, 1848, the women movement started coming up to date. But it looks like we are moving 2 steps in front and then 3 steps back. So I think that's where we should now sit and find solutions. University, that one I know very well. We can have a day after this COVID is done, in our pitch there, let women, men express themselves in their local languages they understand better. We can get people to interpret, Let the laws be broken down to them. We have law students here. Help get down to the communities, break the law for these local women to understand. We are having women that do not know that having their children or having them to school, it is a fundamental right. I should be in school. It's a fundamental right given to me. I shouldn't beg my parent to take me to school. I'm a girl child. I should be in school. I should not be succumbed to child labor. You see this, some of you normally use this road in the evening, Kasemi Road. At around even 8, 9, you see young girls, 7 years, carrying baskets of maize in the night, And you comfortably ask this girl, Mommy told me if I cannot sell the whole basket, I cannot go back. The mommy who's telling this girl to sell a whole basket of maize in the evening, while she's at home seated. And this is the same mother that will come in the morning and say, my girl has been defiled. Then when you try to ask her, we see these stories in the media. We try to ask her, where was the girl? You see, I normally send them in the evening to sell maize, blah, 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 blah. And you can't just imagine. I have so far handled 2 cases. Unfortunately, I'm failing on one. at least one I'm a bit succeeding. Of a teacher, these things are so fun. Of a teacher now with a P4 girl, P5, P4 girl. The mother came to me, we sat down, gave me the whole story. I called the head teacher, the school is within Entebbe here, primary school. I called the head teacher was covering for the teacher. I called the police guys, they were all covering with them for the man. And I said, now what is wrong with this kind of situation? Later on to realize that because the mom to the girl was not empowered, she did not understand the case that was entered for her girl at police. This was a defilement case. And you know what they put? Was it kind of female something? Very light case. Very light, not even connected to defilement. And then the mother told me, Auntie, you know, I don't understand these things. For me, that's what they put in the case, blah, 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 blah. When they reached the court, the case was dismissed. Up to now, the girl has not got any single justice. When you hear her talking, when you see her talking, she cries at some point. And the teacher is still there, maybe. What can we do? What can we do? So, those are issues. So those are some of the, I'm trying to look at what are those issues that are really, that are blocks into education and training of a girl child. I have not been to Nabagereka Hall, like they didn't say. But I'm wondering why the girls are refusing to sleep in Nabagereka Hall. When Nabagereka herself opened that hall, were there. The move was okay for Nkumba University to put up that hall for girls for your safety. Why are you refusing to sleep there? Should we say that the conditions in the hall are not okay? Should we say the conditions are not okay? If the conditions are not okay, come out and speak. As simple as that. You know? If you run out of the hostel silently and you're not giving reasons as to why you're running out, the administrators will not understand your issues. Right? To the administrators, you have leaders, tell them Nabagereka Hall is A, B, C, D. That's why we cannot sleep there, and that's why we are running away from the hall. Because one of the issues that is affecting the girl child education, it is, the issue is those not good conditions to keep girls at school. Health-wise, socially, if a girl goes to a school, and this girl has reached her puberty, you know, she goes into her messes and everything, MPs. And now, the school has no water, the toilets are not clear, you know, she has no place where she can even change from or take a bath in the middle of the day. This girl will not go back to school the next month. She will run away. So if she will go on missing, like this month she has missed 4 days, next month another 5 days, at the end of the day she will say, I'm tired of going to school. So, if we have people who are working in schools, are we having proper conditions at schools that can keep girls within schools? There is a time here, I will ask, there is a time here when Women's Day, and down there at Nabagereka, there is, I think we're kind of soliciting funds for an incinerator down there. I remember that story, incinerator, blah, 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 for the girls. I don't know whether it was put. And I don't know whether the money was collected and was put to use. I'm not here to question administrators, but that move was there. If that is what is making you run away from Nabagereka, dear girls, you know, stand up, remind the administration, and get back to the hostel. It's hot out there. We see what is happening in the hostels. You girls live around us, you know? So better stay safe in a hostel, finish your 4 years, 3 years, and go back home when you're safe. Me, when I was studying, I slept in a hostel. I refused to rent. After all, I did not even have money to rent. Now why would I refuse to sleep in a hostel? But that one did not stop me to, you know, to move out in the evening. Like, didn't I go back to the hostel? Anyway, think about it, but it's better you go back to the hostel. That is my thinking. For your safety. If there are issues within the hostel, then better talk to the person concerned. Issues that are preventing girls: accessibility to schools. Accessibility to schools on the African continent. You're living miles away from the school. They expect you to be to school around 8, you know. So, if concerned people, especially in the rural areas, can have schools near in different communities, that is better. For us, when we were still studying in primary, I studied here in Entebbe, my primary from the lower primary here at Nkumba primary, then upper primary from P5 to a shift, I were taken to St. Teresa's in Entebbe. And at a later time, he bought a car. We could be transported to school. But it reached a time when we wanted to get this 200 to eat fish somewhere there, so we could avoid boarding a taxi to school, because we wanted this 200 again to buy some fish. At that time, I did not realize that the distance was long. Now I see the distance is long. I cannot afford my child to move from here to Entebbe town. I can't, you know? So, if there was a school probably near, better than Nkumba primary by that time, we would go there. But all the schools during that time that were better off than Nkumba were in Entebbe town. So you see now the distance. So a parent who could not afford Nkumba and schools in Entebbe, then the child had to go and dig in the village and then marry off at around 14 years. So those are issues. We have a school-related gender-based violence and harmful practices. Those ones put girls away from schools. They don't help in the girl child education. I talked about teasing girls in schools. I don't think we have people who are still teasing females here at university. Are they there? Guild President. If you're a male student there who is still teasing girls at campus level, better go back to training at your mother's home, that women are supposed to be respected. As simple as that. You know, I don't see why you should teach this tease this female student. Give her her space. She needs her space. You know? We have girls, we used to have girls. Some of you will ask yourselves why some of the girls do not remove sweaters. You know? We're all like this. We're supposed to have boobs. We're supposed to have butts. Leave me alone. You know? If I have my big boobs, what is wrong with you? If I'm putting on my sweater, hey, so what? You know? Those are some of the things that people tease girls with in schools. Eh? Kasweta, here, even they have those names. Kasweta, simani what, diarrhea, what. Huh? Those are some of the things. You call them light. To you, they may appear light things, but those are exactly the things that push girls away from school, I can assure you. You tease a girl of about 13 years who has just started, growing breasts. Next month she will disappear. She will not come back. She will not. Because they tease her because of you have big boobs, you have what? She will not come back to school. Most especially if a parent has not sat down to talk to this girl. So, in girl child education, everyone is involved right from home. You as a parent, what are you doing? These things should not only belong to the mothers. I hear, your mother did not sit you down, your mother did not talk to you, you go to your sailor. Hey, where are the fathers? Some of the girls are raised by single fathers and they're doing a better job than even the mothers. So men who are on this physical here and those ones online, be a man. Today is International Men's Day. I think you've seen it already on social media. It is not a mistake that even that day was put there. They tell us that, okay, Women's Day is only on 3rd. Is it 3rd March? 8th March. Women's Day is there 8th March. So the rest of the days in the year are men's days. No, you have yours today, which is 19th November. Meaning, a subtraction of 2 days, the rest of the days in the year will share equally. That is gender equality, as simple as that. We are not saying that gender equality, you know, we should stop dealing for you. People misinterpret these things, you know. Gender equality does not mean I get off my gender roles as a female. No. That's why even when people are giving it, they say, okay, fine, because she's supposed to go back and cook for the husband, she will work up to this time, up to this time. But as time goes on, we are refusing that kind of feverish thing. You know, because you're a woman, for you can do this. I was happy when Madame Margaret gave this note. I will read the last words. Women are not weak. And that is the reality. Women are not weak. Women, if women are multi-purpose, you know, I can be here giving this speech. The same time I'm texting some other program somewhere happening, right? The same time I am monitoring a house girl at home. You know, how many men can do that? Surely, if you can raise your man. Women are multi, you know, we do things, so many things at one time. So, you cannot say that women are weak. That is out. They don't need much more protection and privilege. I hate that thing of the 2% money university. What? Is it still there? At my head, 2%. They removed. It's still there. No, those are issues. Such things should be removed. So that when these girls are studying, they know there is no 2%. There is no this favoring because I'm a woman, I'll get now the 2%. Me, I waited for that 2%, I don't even see it. Helping me to go to my career university. I did not see it. The 2%. You know, this thing of saying that we should have women members of parliament, that is rubbish. What is the purpose? Even when we send them there, what are they doing? Apart from, you know, eating the monies as they come, blah, 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 blah. If I may ask, how many of you have benefited from your women member of parliament in your areas? How many? So, this business of women member of parliament, this is where the whole thing now comes in. Women member of parliament, I hear Smani female representative on the guild, Smani what? Yeah? Female Smani what? These are women affairs. Okay, let us have the female affairs. But the journey we are moving, you know, it is slow because of those funny things. As a woman, as women do this. I had to be saying, okay, Diana, as a woman, no. I'm an individual, not as a woman. You know? What a man can do, I can do. Moshabe here knows me. I challenge those boys I'm with in that association. I'm rounded with about 10 of them. I don't give a damn. When I raise to speak, they will all listen. Yes, he knows. When I said this, I give my reasons. We agree, we discuss. But this business, Dana, shut up because you're a woman. I don't entertain. So this stereotyping of woman, blah, 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 because of a woman you're doing this. Stop putting yourself in that condition of, because I'm a woman, I should be given this. Because I'm a woman, I should be favored. You know? Because, okay, let us favor the pregnant mothers and those ones carrying babies when they go up to immunize children. Okay, you pregnant mother, you go in front and then don't line up in the bank. But those are some of the funny things. Then, we're looking at worldwide, 129 girls are dropping out of schools. Currently, that is what we have. 129. But the biggest majority of those dropping out are at primary lower level. Where is the problem? Where is the problem? As we continue to proceed secondary level, it continues, 42%. They continue dropping out. As we continue to tertiary institutions, some drop out. They've already said some are not back here this semester because of their mothers, because they are what, because ABCD. Some don't just finish because of their issues. Poverty, barriers to cultural education, poverty. So, these programs that come in, government programs, I hear what's Operation
Before we move on to our next education way through which we shall boost the confidence among the girl child and encourage them to consider themselves equal and to participate in all opportunities that are available without fear. And she has also told us that if we level the ground in schools, it will encourage the girl child to stay in school and get the required skills and knowledge and build that confidence. You may see that we are not many here physically, but I would like to remind you that there are other members who are following us online. So our next guest speaker is online. She's Madam Elizabeth Peterson from South Africa. Madam Elizabeth Peterson is a member of an institution known as a multi-faith non-profit organization, which was established in 2008. And this institution assists individuals and families who are afflicted by domestic violence, and she also helps to strengthen the capacity of faith leaders as they address the faith dimensions and root causes of violence against women. And she also participates in so many other activities which are there to promote the confidence among the women. Madam Elizabeth Peterson is a PhD candidate at the Department of Religion and Theology at the University of Western Cape. She holds a master's degree in social work, and as part of her work, she has experience in caring for the abused and homeless women and children, and served in coordination of the women activities in different areas in South Africa, with a key role of placing the housing needs of women exiting shelters on the national and local government agenda. And together with her colleagues, they participated in the establishment of the shelter movement of South Africa, and she's actively involved in the Cape Town Interfaith Initiative of South Africa, and has participated in an international Christian and Muslim interfaith listening program, which was arranged by the Presbyterian Church in USA, which was there to give the necessary counseling to all those who were victims to the explosions that happened in USA in 2011, and has addressed a number of issues concerning violence against women, and together with her friends, they established the South African Faith and Family Institute in 2008. Madam Elizabeth Peterson has a link on the website, which is there to promote confidence among the women. Can we please put together our hands for Madam Elizabeth Peterson?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for the opportunity to participate in your
We are waiting for our technical team to do that in full. Madam Diana has emphasized that A woman has multiple roles to play. So ladies who are here, do not feel shy. You can have the
Okay, so can I go?
so, because it is by job, but it is you yourself who has a role to play. It is you to build your self-confidence and come out of that cocoon of thinking that there is somebody who has to do everything for you. You have to play your role and build your self-esteem. Like she has said, she had to do it herself and has come from very far, but she's now somewhere. So we can learn from her as we are also trying to find our dreams in life. In the meantime, as we are waiting for our technical team to connect us online so that I would like to recognize the presence of Mr. Martin Emmanuel, a journalist from Juba Monitors. You are most welcome, sir.
Oh, can I go ahead? Good morning, everybody. I really want to say thank you for the opportunity to participate in your, what looks like the first women's dialogue of the university. Thank you very much for the invitation to participate in the discussion.
Please go ahead, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I know that we all have been, and especially in South Africa, we've been on lockdown with the pandemic, but I've been in double lockdown because I've been busy with finalizing my PhD. So I have not really been very much on the Zoom platform. So please, I need your support and your guidance. I'm quite happy for you to guide me. But I really want to just say thank you for the opportunity to be in this discussion with you here from South Africa. And maybe I always feel like from the onset, when we participate in any form of interaction on the continent, it is important for us as South Africans to first, start by apologizing for the kinds of things that the South Africans have done to our brothers and sisters from other parts of Africa, and that we continue to struggle with. And I think it is important not to just act as if everything is actually perfectly okay. There's a lot for us to learn, to heal from, to transform and to grow on this continent, and especially for us here in South Africa. So as we reflect, and I think one of the previous colleagues have mentioned that today was also regarded apparently as International Men's Day. And initially when I heard about that, I was quite, I thought this is great. But it was actually only after I've done a little bit of research that I discovered that this whole initiative around International Men's Day was really about almost like a backlash talking back at or trying to interrupt and trying to silence women, almost like competing, you know, for women's pain and men's pain. And I think from the onset, I think it's important to say that when we talk about, you know, realizing women's rights for an equal society or equal future, at least from my point of view, I believe that it is not about competing, and especially on the African continent. We cannot be competing, you know, and trying to put on a hierarchy the levels of pain that we have experienced as a continent, as a people, as various people. So it's important to make on the question of women's leadership, or just leadership in general, I want to just as a point of some introductory questions or remarks, I want to ask, what is leadership? What are you, why are you a leader? And I know that we're talking mainly to students and maybe people from other platforms as well, but I want us to just reflect on some of these questions. And I'm hoping that even as I share some reflections and thoughts, you know, that some of these questions is questions that I've been grappling with. So why am I a leader? Who am I leading? What is the context that I'm leading from, you know, geographically? What kind of leadership is required in my context? Where am I leading people from? From where or from what to what? So where are we leading people to? And then I think another important question is the question around what is the agenda that we are leading? What are you leading? What is the content of that agenda? And then finally, the question, I think, is another question to accompany us as we reflect on the issue of leadership, and particularly thinking now about women in strategic leadership positions. I also want to ask, whose agenda are you advancing through your leadership? And so these are just some of the questions that I consistently grapple with. Jan van Zandt says that, you know, especially on the question of why are you here? Why are you a leader? I extract you know, just two introductory comments. It's Pablo, in fact, that says the meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away. And I believe for leaders, it's quite important that we understand that leadership is actually a sacred responsibility. And as leaders, we have a particular gift. And so the question on why are you leading? Why are you a leader? Why do you want to become a leader is quite a critical question. And I want to suggest that, at least for me, and I know for many others, I believe that leadership for me is very much connected to my purpose in life. And then, you know, and so there's something that each one of us came into the earth with. And so when we are in leadership positions, yes, there may be positional leadership. We may have been elected into leadership, but be that as it is, when we find ourselves in positions of leadership, it becomes important that we reflect on what is our purpose in life, but also in that particular position. And then it's Jan van Zandt who says that sometimes you have to meet people where they are, and sometimes you have to leave them there. And so, of course, when we lead, there are sometimes we find ourselves in positions where we, and this is particularly true, I think, in my experience again, and in our context, and especially in South Africa, and we've seen that especially after 1994, as we came out of apartheid and moving into the democracy, where human rights, the whole human rights concept or discourse became quite important. But what we've also found that for some of us, Black women or Black people that started to step into leadership, you would find that sometimes some people would be welcoming and other people may not be welcoming. And so I think that's another, consideration for reflection, that when we are in a position of leadership, there are people that that you will meet there, you meet them there, and sometimes they will receive you and you'll be able to create, some amazing things together. But there's also those that you sometimes have to leave so that you can continue to do what it is that you are called to and the people that you are seeking to serve. And so for me, again, understanding the leadership discourse in the African and specifically the South African context, I do believe it's important because of the kind of history that we come from, a history of colonization. It's important to talk about how does Eurocentrism, influence and has influence and continue to influence our leadership style, or just us as a people, but also then, of course, Afrocentricity. What does it mean to be an Afrocentric, a leader that is actually specifically, embrace our Africanness and African knowledge, and how do we lead from that place? And so just a couple of remarks from there. We know that in the past 5 centuries, Europeans have colonized countries, mainly in Africa, Latin America, Asia, and a number of other countries. And Hoskins mentions, he says, most history books in the last 500 years have been written to glorify Europeans as at the expense of other peoples, And it is therefore not an over-exaggeration that I want to say to acknowledge that most people's mentality, our worldviews, our perspectives, even our perspectives of leadership, have been shaped and informed into Eurocentric form. And so Eurocentrism is then just, helpful kind of framing. Eurocentrism is a set of beliefs which places Europe at the center and relegating all other ways of thinking to the periphery. And also it sets particular standards in which reality must be tested. And this is a scholar or 2 scholars, Shohat and Tam, that refers to that, and they write about that. And so in this way, Europe is placed, in a sense, in a privileged position and sees reality in a single perspective and determines themselves as the determinants of meaning and knowledge. Afrocentricity acknowledges Eurocentrism as one voice, one paradigm, one perspective, and it is not regarded as a universal perspective in understanding reality. And this is the offering, I believe, that we have in Africa for the world, Afrocentricism or Afrocentricity. And so for us then, if we look at the history of where we come from, it's important to acknowledge when we are coming from countries and the continent like Africa, where many of us have been colonized, it is important to bring into our consciousness and into our critical reflection about our own leadership. We need to talk about and name Eurocentrism and how that influences the way we see ourselves, the way we see the people that we seek to lead and to serve. And so unearthing and understanding the paradigms and perspectives of our reality and the problems and ways of finding solutions that informs our leadership commitment becomes quite an important aspect as we grapple with our own leadership. Afrocentricity has become, and this is really helpful for us, Afrocentricity has become a growing and persistent influence in the social sciences in providing an alternative perspective to Eurocentric ideologies of leadership, or even just pertaining the study of Africans and African phenomena. Because of course, as we know, we are leading. Which was coined, but also started by Asante in 1998, provides a specific framework that places African people in the center, and it prioritizes African people's location, our context, and our history. But also it respects all forms of, it rejects all forms of oppression, including, one of course, all the oppressions that we've experienced, colonialism. The area of work that I come from, or that I'm focused on, is gender-based violence, because all forms of oppression dehumanizes the oppressor as well as the oppressed, and women as well as men. And so furthermore, Afrocentricity really focuses on the agency of African people. And so it regards the notion of Ubuntu as a spiritual concept that remains the most authoritative philosophy of modern times. And so, we have these themes that we work with, and some of the themes that I work with and I grapple with in my own leadership. Afrocentricity does not call for the replacement, but the correction of existing Eurocentric perspectives, whether it's on leadership, whether it's the way that we see ourselves, the way that we frame the problems, and the way that we then engage with these problems. So from the South African context, and again, a lot of my own experience, I particularly have always grappled with this notion of human rights, kind of after colonialism. And yes, there's a place for human rights, but the research has also shown that while the human rights discourse is an essential democratic value, it is not in itself a plausible intervention, or I would say a leadership strategy in contexts where religion embedded in culture is a social determinant of hierarchical gender power relations. And I think for us in this continent, as we educate ourselves, universities, through various institutions, it really becomes important to unpack what is this concept of human rights. Why are we even having, the previous speaker has mentioned, why are we even having dialogues like this with themes like realizing women's rights? What does that mean? Why do we have to, people often talk about fighting for human rights. And it just feels that there's a disconnect in terms of who we are as a people, and especially if we embrace and acknowledge that we are African people and that we embrace a philosophy such as Ubuntu. And so what we have done through our work, as it was mentioned during the introduction, the South African Faith and Family Institute, which we started in 2008, was really about addressing the faith dimensions of gender-based violence in South Africa. And for us, it becomes important, we say that we cannot really talk about any social justice issue, and especially intimate partner abuse in South Africa, without talking about what we refer to as the Siamese twins of oppression. We cannot only speak about patriarchy in the South African context. We have to speak about patriarchy and white supremacy. And so for us, we refer to the Siamese twins of oppression as the real root of the problem of intimate partner violence, of the real root of this whole, figuring out struggle, gender-based violence, this that we're even doing here today, figuring out women's leadership in the context where there's predominantly male leadership. The question remains, why are we even talking about that? If we understand from our own growing up, sometimes in our own homes, we know that gender is a construct, right? But be that as it is, so what we are saying in South Africa, if we're only talking about patriarchy in an African context, we must be very careful that we do not, in only talking about patriarchy, that we are actually advancing a white supremacist, Eurocentric agenda, which has consistently been about dismantling African families, African love, African intimate relationships, and African families. And so we work with that, we grapple with that. I wanted to, and so just to quickly, share with you how we define white supremacy and patriarchy, which we refer to as the Siamese twins of oppression. So white supremacy is a belief and structural system of white dominance, which makes the oppression of Black people seem natural, eternal, ordained, and it's created by God like that. So that's that kind of belief system that sees white superiority and white privilege as almost like as a natural order of things. Patriarchy, on the other hand, or the other side of the Siamese twin, is a belief system and structural system of male dominance that makes the oppression of women seem natural, ordained by God, and therefore it's eternal. And so we believe that in Africa, and I can only speak specifically for the South African context, unless we understand and grapple with these two systems of oppression as Siamese twins and really serving each other, we will be going around in circles in trying to address whether it's issues of equality, issues of human rights, whether it's issues of human dignity. And so, of course, what then are the things, and I thought specifically in terms of my particular focus of my topic that speaks to women in strategic leadership positions, I wanted to just share some experiences that I've had, with women in strategic leadership position. And I want to start with my mother as the first woman leader that I've experienced, and the things that my mother has taught me just through a lived experience, and even I guess in the way that she interacted with me, at least my experience. I'm one of 9 children, so we're a big family. 7 sisters, we are 7 sisters and 2 brothers. And so it's a very robust kind of home life and experience that we've had. And so from my mother, I have really learned, and she was almost like trying to drill it into our understanding that the world owes you nothing. You owe the world everything that God has endowed you with. That means whatever you came into, each one of us came into this earth with a particular purpose, with a particular calling, with certain gifts, and it is our responsibility to live that and to share that with the world. And so growing up, it was always, even during apartheid years, and apartheid was everywhere. In the church, in our communities, in the schools, wherever we were. And my mother, together with my father, they would often say to us, if you are disturbed by what is going on in the world, you have to do something about it. Why are you looking to somebody else to do something about it. So we would come home and complain. I would come home and complain about, wow, things are wrong at school or even at church. And so we were challenged. My mother would say, maybe you are so disturbed because God wants you to do something about that. And I think growing up as a teenager, I've come to understand that the thing that really disturbs me is probably, it gives me a hint in the direction that I'm supposed to make a difference. And another thing that I've learned from my mother is to, when you figure it out, it's your responsibility to figure out what is your purpose, what is your calling in this life. And then you don't look for support, don't look for people to support you, right? You have to get up. That's what they taught us. You have to get up and do what you need to do, create the support that you need to create around you. And I think my mother, even though both my parents they didn't go further than primary school education, so they never had formal education, but the wisdoms and the African insights that they lived with and that they reared us with, those are the lessons, really, I must say to you, that I still use and actually primarily use in my own leadership imperative. And so my parents, I guess they knew that we were living in South Africa, and in South Africa, your humanity was not acknowledged. And so if you are looking for people to try and encourage you or support you in the ideas that you have, you might be disappointed. And so therefore, that's one of the things that they constantly said to us: create the support that you need around you. Don't look and don't depend on people to receive you, to accept you. Now, I'm saying these things in the context of, if you understand where your country is, our country has just come out of oppression or apartheid. And so moving into this new democratic society, of course, it means that a lot of things has to change. And so in many ways, this is an incredible opportunity to be part of this particular younger generation of leaders, where we are able to help transform our country. And there was another thing that my mother and my parents were quite strong about. And maybe it's because we have witnessed how they've been treated with disdain and dehumanized. And so they always said, do not treat people with disdain. Respect people's humanity. If you serve God's purpose for your life, God will provide everything that you need as a leader or in whichever position you find yourself. And God will provide the right people and the right support. All that you have to do is to make sure that you understand what is your calling, and your calling even as a leader, because this is the other thing that is quite crucial. As we go to university, as we go and study to equip ourselves, our education is supposed to support our calling, our purpose, our mission in life, that which we were created with, right? To serve humanity. But often what happens is, the minute we step into leadership, the minute we graduate, we take the certificate, we take the degree, and we leave our calling behind. We become this extraordinary leader in our field, but oftentimes we've left our calling, whether it's a religious leader that you become. Sometimes people step into religious leadership, but again, they leave their calling behind, and they take at the ordination, and they take the position. And so we struggle oftentimes with leaders who are extremely skilled, very knowledgeable, but there seems to be a disconnect with their callings and their purpose. And so I think those are some of the crucial lessons that I've learned from my parents and from my mother in particular. You cannot you will have a whole lot of problems in your life if you seek to be a leader that is disconnected from your God-given purpose and calling. And so that becomes quite a critical piece. I've also had the experiences, of course, of teachers who I experienced as leaders. And so I remember some of those very early days when I was at primary school. I've not just primary school, high school as well. I've had teachers in leadership positions who shamed me, they were shaming. And so we're talking about women in strategic leadership positions. And I remember, one of those first experiences that I had, I was very young, I must have been 8 years old. You would remember that in South Africa under apartheid, we were developed in separate communities. So I classified as a colored, was growing up in a colored school. And I remember there was a white looking or fair-skinned girls in my class. And so they used to get the best marks, right? And so my teacher would celebrate them. And then there was a period of quiet, nobody was celebrated. I was the one that then during that particular lengthy period got the best marks in the class, but I wasn't celebrated. And I remember, the shame that I actually felt now, I felt that, so it's two things that sort of, conflated or combined into the feeling of being ashamed of myself, ashamed of being the one that actually got the most marks. That was also connected. So there was the silence, no celebration. It was just mentioning, Elizabeth had the most marks, that's it. But with these other two girls, it was always sort of a big celebration. So I started to think there must be something wrong with me being the first in the class. And that was connected also with the way my identity was treated. My hair was short, too short. We couldn't have ribbons. In fact, my parents couldn't afford to buy ribbons, but we all needed to look a certain way. And this teacher would go and get flowers outside and stick it into my hair because we are all supposed to look the same and we're all supposed to look a certain way. And so my sense of feeling ashamed of the way that I look and of my intellect started, when I was young, as an 8-year-old in that grade, what would be grade 2. And this was, from my experience with this particular teacher. Another teacher also challenged my intellect. And on this particular day, I did not know the answer. And she and the whole class didn't know that particular answer. And she was in a very sarcastic way. She said, "Oh, you tell them what the answer is, Elizabeth." And that day, I did not know the answer. And so what I'm wanting to refer to here is women, whether it's women, it could be a man as well, but in leadership and how those strategic positions of leadership influence and inspire a particular way of being, right? It could change us in a way that we become introverts and we see ourselves as less, or it can revive us. Another experience I have had that I want to highlight is racism in women's leadership. And again, referring to the context within my work is located, I work in the gender-based violence sector. And again, I remember as we were moving from apartheid into the democracy in South Africa, we have now started to see a number of white women leaders who kind of, stepped, whether they stepped aside, and Black women leaders started to take take leadership in positions. And what was very interesting actually to notice and sad to notice is that oftentimes there were no institutional memory that was shared with the new generation of Black women leaders that came even in the gender-based violence sector. And so I was the director of a shelter, one of the oldest shelters for abused women in South Africa. And I remember going to another director just for general advice. But it was interesting how she was listening to me, to the struggles that I had, which I thought was, shared struggles as directors of the shelters. She looked at me and she said, "What are you even doing in the director position? You should remain a social worker. You shouldn't be a leader. You shouldn't be a director." And so these were some of the challenges. But I want to sort of as I conclude, I want to talk about other experiences that I also had, intentional, inclusive, transformational women's leadership, which I've experienced. And I've seen that with women of color who are now in, for example, in government, or they now run donor organizations, they're in leadership positions, where women have become intentional. Some of these women have become intentional to include the voices that is often not being heard. And I remember another story I want to share is, as I was working in the shelter as the director now, the first Black director in the shelter for abused women, I said all the staff members must write reports. People started to feel really worried because they thought they were going to be excluded because they didn't have the skill of writing reports. And I said, no, but if we're going to write, if we're going to take seriously everybody's contributions, writing becomes quite important. So those reports become part of the institutional memory that we are developing in the organization. And there was this one woman, just could never get her to speak in a staff meeting, Xhosa woman. And oftentimes in South Africa, I don't know about your country, but people would often say, no, Xhosa people are very respectful. And so they're quiet, they really don't speak much because they're respectful. I thought this woman had such a lot of wisdom, we just couldn't get her to speak. And when I looked at the reports, I then saw some of those extraordinary insights that she had. And then I just kind of, automatically or just kind of unconsciously said to her, why don't you share with us what you've written in your report? And this woman started to talk. Not even 2 years later, she had become so become so natural in our context that she gave her insights that she eventually represented the organization at a national conference. Not just that, she became one of the key people in developing a very unique therapeutic and education program for the children that was in our creche. And so what I want to say through this is, yes, I've reflected a little bit on the different women in strategic positions and the way that they've inspired my own, way of being and even leading. And so even as we are in this time in the history of humanity, we're struggling with this pandemic. There's a new generation of leaders that is coming up. We are cultivating a new Africa. Let us be intentional about our leadership, but let us also be critical and mindful that since we are all casualties, in a sense, of colonialism, and here in South Africa of apartheid, we may as leaders sometimes have the tendency to also colonize spaces. We may have the tendency to colonize people, thinking that people don't know and that we are coming with stuff. Let us bring into our consciousness and the way that we lead this closing comment that I want to make that Desmond Tutu reminded us of. And let us cultivate Ubuntu in the way that we lead. And so Ubuntu, in fact, Desmond Tutu wrote, he said, a person with Ubuntu know that they are diminished when others are diminished. They are diminished when others are oppressed. They are diminished when others are treated as if they were less than they are. And the quality of Ubuntu gives people resilience, enabling them to survive and emerge still human despite all efforts to dehumanize them. But also Ubuntu is about celebrating the uniqueness and the unique insights and wisdoms that everybody brings. And so I want to encourage you, even as students, all of us as leaders, let us consistently be critical about how we ourselves are healing from the traumas of the past and how those traumas are informing our leaders, our leadership. Are we cultivating Ubuntu? Are we conscious about our own need of healing as we are doing the work with those who look to us for direction and leadership? So thank you once again for this opportunity to share in your conference. Thank you very much.
Presentation, maybe to summarize what she has hinted on. She has said that when we try to promote equal rights among the men and women, we are not here to compete with men, but we are just looking for the best way of respecting each other's gender roles. And she has said that women should try to identify their gifts and decide the purpose of their that can be done better if they invite. Parents should play a very important role, especially mothers, to see to it that they build the confidence and promote equality among all their children. She gave us an example of herself, who was highly helped by her parents to be where she is. And she also mentioned something about education and said that through education we can be supported to identify our calling and try to build our callings and stay in line, so the younger ladies around do not drop out of school. Through education and training, you gain the necessary skills and knowledge, and you try to identify your gifts and build on them. Therefore, she also advised the ladies and women to stop considering themselves less. So whenever there is an opportunity, try to grab it. Do not consider yourself inferior. Thank you very much, Madam Elizabeth Peterson. Now on our program, the next person in line will be presented by Madam Mary. Madam Mary, come and present our next guest speaker so that we can move on through our program.
Thank Our next presenter is from Makerere University. Miss Awate Vasinakim is a student of Makerere University pursuing a bachelor's degree in social sciences. She is the speaker of Pojulu Students Union in Uganda, and she is the president, South Sudanese Young Women Forum, Uganda chapter. Her academic journey started in primary, and she went to Homingdab International School in Germany. She went to Lubiri High School for O-level and A-level, and she later joined Leadership Academy in Gulu. Being a South Sudanese young woman born in a refugee camp, was of value in the aspect of spirit and leadership, and this made her become a young woman mediation ambassador for the International Center of Peace, Human Rights and Development in Africa 2020. Her motivation about leadership is seeing change among the youth, especially in South Sudan, due to the civil wars that have impacted negatively on both the young and the old people in the country. With teamwork and determination, the young and the old will be able to all together jubilate at peace in the country. At this moment in time, allow me to welcome Ms. Vastin Hakim for her presentation. Welcome, Madam.
All right, thank you so much, Tom, for that. And as I said, I'm Vastin Hakim from Makerere University, just like I said before. So first, I would like to thank God. I give Him the glory for the journey masses. Even amidst the bomb, we are walking and we are moving, we are saved. So we give God the glory. And first of all, okay, the other thing. I'd like to pick three, at least three. What comes in your mind when you hear the word gender equality? So I'll just have to go there right now. And in today's the theme is talking about gender equality, realizing women's rights for an equal future. So according to me, I define women's rights as the rights and entitlements claimed for women and girls worldwide. And have been tasked to talk about the responsibilities of women in the family setting. So our directly go to the responsibilities of women in a family setting. One, defending the marital status. Well, I will talk about the point of polygamy. I come from a country where polygamy is okayed under the transitional government, and that is South Sudan. So, you know, one thing as a woman, we already have our rights. And when we talk about defending our marital status, once you're married to someone, you're supposed to be with that person, not any other person added in or partner added in the relationship. That is defending your marital status as a woman in that what? In that family. So now in South Sudan, since polygamy seems something good, we are really suffering. You can hear from my profile, me, I'm someone who was born from the refugee camp, and that was in Uganda. So living along that, polygamy is something that has really affected my country so much. People are suffering. I was reading some story by iRadio. Like there is this guy. He got married to 3 ladies, and this is someone who is financially down. He just goes, hustles, comes back with a little, and then the kids feed on that. And when he comes back without money, the kids will of course have to sleep on empty stomach. So as a woman in a family who already know, by the way, these rights were defined, I think, was it 20th century, something like that, 20? Yes, it was earlier said. So, like, as a woman, what are you supposed to do in that family? Defend. You know, it must, me, I say that men are weak. Men are weak. As a woman, you go, say, babe, oh baby, oh, that's something. Please don't do this, because by advising him, you're trying to support him indirectly. Do you think that these men who are practicing polygamy are happy? Are they happy? So as a woman, it is your responsibility to always defend your status. And the other thing is sharing responsibility. Sharing responsibility. When I talk about sharing responsibility in the point of equality, we have seen situations whereby women are just relaxed. Here, today we are talking about equality, not about men or women, but all the two parties. So, sharing responsibility, we should not leave all the obligations on it. Like, a man is going to work and you're there busy watching Z World, 24/7 on Z World. As a woman, what are you trying to show the rest of the individuals? So as a woman in a family, you're supposed to share. If he's going for work, or if he's doing something to get money for the family, you are also supposed to do it. Support him in all ways possible, and by doing that, you're already in a position of being what? Equal. The man and the woman. The good thing is that nowadays women are allowed women are being included in very different institutions, by the way. They are there in politics, education, they are there. Why? Because of the rights that we had. After realizing your rights, what are you supposed to do? Yes, sharing responsibility. We are no longer in those days whereby women were not allowed to work. We are now in a world where we are free. And then, I would like to talk about a mediation. So, as a woman, we know that in families there are always conflicts. So you can be a mediator in a family setting. There are very many conflicts that happen in a family. And those days, like some years back, women could not speak, but now we are being given the opportunity to speak. So, in a family setting, you can still be a mediator solving disputes in a family setting, and that is from a what? From a grassroots. And the other thing is, we are still on the responsibilities of women. I'd like to talk about educating the girl child and boy child. You know, one of the things is that as a woman, you went through empowerment. What is your responsibility? You have already been empowered. What is your responsibility when it comes to the sector of education in a family? One, you know, for us we come in, some of us come in families whereby your parents will really not support you going to school. I'll give an example of South Sudan. Since I'm from South Sudan and I know most of those things, even if I did not grow from there. Most of the things, you know, sometimes, you know, marriages are really, child marriages are very, very, very common in my country. You find a lady of 14 years old getting married. Yes, she has conceived, she's giving birth. But remember, as a woman who has already realized your rights, you can easily stop that in sending these young kids to school. And remember, when you send them to school, of course they are going to learn more, from the institution. And most of these institutions, of course, teach us about positivities. So, since even my time is showing that, the time I'm presenting it is even showing that this is, it's almost the time for us like to end, but now, first I would like to give thanks to everyone for listening, just so brief like that. In what I advise, I can't speak, but then what I advise most is doing the action. We have had dialogues, we have had conferences, you advise here, you advise there, but where is the action? Last year, it was last year March when I was for a conference, and then in a dialogue, and after the dialogue, a lady came to me and said, Bastin, we are speaking, but we need to act. It is time for us to stand. Every time we are going, we come, we sit down, we talk. After getting out of the hall, it ends there, in the hall. So I just advise us to practice, to do the practicals, so that we can rise at a point of equality. So I thank you so much for listening, for God and my country.
Thank you very much, Madam Hakim, for that wonderful presentation. Can we clap again for Madam Hakim? To summarize what she has just said, she mentioned something about the culture and the community setups which at times promote gender violence. And she requested that we all try to participate in a way of moving away from such behavior. She also said that we should share the responsibility in our homes equally, and it is important for one to identify his or her rights and try to fight. And she has said that we have talked a lot about how to promote confidence and esteem among the girl child. but we are not taking action. So we should take action and see how best we can try to promote confidence among the girls. Thank you very much. The next session is a commercial break of questions and answers. So members, if you have any question to any of the guest speakers who have presented their discussions so far, you can raise up your hand and then I bring the microphone to you. But it's important that you mention who exactly you would like to answer your question. Thank you very much. This is the question and answer session. I'll be allowing five questions, and then we take them to the individuals to whom they will be forward, and then we'll move on. Is there anybody with a question? Feel free, don't be shy. We are here to build the confidence. You mention your name, and then you give us the question, but make sure you identify the speaker to whom the question is forwarded.
Good afternoon to all members. My question is to the speakers of the day. If me, myself, I have that self-confidence, but I have colleagues who don't feel themselves, how can I help my colleagues to also feel themselves, to do what they feel is right and that can make them happy without feel offended? You know, girls, if you put on a dress you want, you're like, why are you dressing like that? It's like you've done something bad in the community. But sometimes you feel like putting on that dress, you're not intending to seduce anyone or to offend anyone, but you feel like you want to dress like that. So I want to help my colleagues, but I don't know how to help them. So I want some advice on how I can help them to also feel free to do whatever makes them happy.
Thank you very much. Her question is about how she can help others to build the confidence among themselves so that she doesn't move alone, because if she's confident and is alone, still it will not work, so she has to move as a team. So guest speakers, anybody who is ready will react to that. Another question, like I said, I'm taking on 5 questions.
Good afternoon, members. Mine is not a question, it is a concern. All the speakers talked about the equality of men and women. Some of us come from humble backgrounds as ladies, which puts us down feeling we can't go on with study. So my worry is, how can they continue? Are you ladies going to create a forum for them or something? My worry.
She's worried that sometimes the culture and the background, the humble background from where they come from, makes them lose confidence in themselves. How are we going to help them? How are we going to help them?
Thank you so much. My question is, how are we going to help the girl child like to fight emotions?
about how are we going to help the downtown fight emotions.
I'm concerned about. Good afternoon. Yeah, my concern is when we talk of women equality, it is a good topic that we are talking about. But then I'm looking at the women in the social sector, and the first of all, the problem is maybe non-inherited is a problem. Based on different cultures, women are not supposed to inherit land. This is a problem for most women in the agricultural sector. Yet they want to do farming, they want to develop themselves in that home. What policies are you going to make it, or what ideas, or how are you going to encourage these women to come up and maybe get land access to help themselves in the communities?
How are we going to help the women, especially in the agricultural sector, to fight for their rights?
Okay. My question is, how are we going to make girls who are vulnerable to realize their potential, that they are really equal to men also, so that they can understand that they have that ability to do something, because inability doesn't mean they don't know.
Thank you very much. Now our guest speakers can react on some of those questions, then we shall add more. Madam Diana, can you please help us with some of these issues that they can very much?
Thank you so much for the reactions and the questions that are coming in. As a teacher, when you teach and there are no questions, either the students have understood or they have not understood. It's two-way. It's good to see that most of the questions that are coming in are on self-esteem. That's where the whole problem is, like I said at the beginning, self-esteem. That's where we are. Understanding the previous speaker, that was, I think, Madam Elizabeth. Madam Elizabeth talked about something concerning understanding your calling, you know. If you cannot understand your calling, that's where things go wrong. With a low self-esteem, you can never even understand yourself. You can ever know your value, your self-respect. It's good at least to hear that the lady, she did not give the names, that for her she's confident already. At least she believes in herself, her character. But now where the problem is, how should I help my fellow girls out of the low self-esteem? For me, this is what I do. Because we can solve problems in different ways. The persons I'm trying to mentor in the journalism association of ours, yes, in most cases, it's not a one-night thing that this person is going to jump out of the low self-esteem and then next morning this person can come up. It's a process. You nowadays have a word, process by process. So it is a process. Don't hurry this person, you know. Begin small, give tasks, leave to them, you know. Avoid spoon feeding for this person. As time goes by, this person will jump out of that low self-esteem. Because some of the indicators of some good self-esteem are simple. Just know the value of yourself. As simple as that. If you know the value of yourself, you can never be taken for granted. You know? Respect yourself. If you're calling for people to respect you, do you respect yourself? So, love yourself. Before you think about loving others, I know you have boyfriends. You say, I love you until Victoria Christ. Hey, first think about loving yourself first before you give that too much love to your boyfriend. You cannot give something that you do not have. If you don't love yourself, you cannot love other people. It's good to hear that the lady in the corner really feels for the others. So what should you do? If there are tasks, for example, if you're having group discussions, and every time there is a presentation, your friend is saying, I cannot go, you present, you know? Reach a time when you say, I am not going to present, go there. Let this person present whatever she or she has on her desk. And don't try to tease. Teasing puts people down. Teasing puts people down. Get that positive energy. Lower down the negative energy for others, you know? Like you said, a person gets this dress, puts it on, and then another one will say, now why did she wear that one? She feels it's very expensive. Dear ladies, please avoid that negative energy, especially when it is coming from a fellow woman. You know, it does not help. Because in most cases, girls really tend to go down because so and so talked an ABCD. So it is just one thing. For you wants to build the confidence of one of your colleagues, build yours. Let it be strong. The moment yours is strong, your colleagues will take you on as an example, and then they will continue. Fighting emotions, I think it was the same thing. They talked about fighting emotions, but when you get those emotions and you're there now fixed, you don't know where to start from. Understand those emotions that you want to fight. You cannot fight something that you do not understand. What are those emotions that are putting you off the proper lane? You know? And if you're fighting the emotions, how do you fight them? By denying the emotions you're in. For example, if your relationship has gone sour, it has gone sour, period. You know, I know you're battling with the relationships at university. If the relationship has gone sour, it has gone sour. There is no compromise in that. So how do you fight it? By denying that, no, it has not gone sour. I don't want to believe this. It has gone sour. Can you now settle down? You know, give those pointers on how you're going to fight it, you know, and then see how you can smoothly go over it. Don't live in denial. If something has refused your way, accept the defeat and move on. Nowadays, I learned something. When I try to do something and it fails, I don't stick to the failure part of it. I say, okay, maybe God has wished that way. Let me look at other things. Because the time you spend trying to solve this thing that has failed, time is money. You're losing a lot of time solving something that will not work out for you. So please, a person who is trying to, how should we fight emotions as girls? What kind of emotions are you fighting? Understand the emotions. Sit down, list strategies of how you're going to solve these emotions. If it requires you to talk to a person, sit down and identify that counselor. It is good Nkumba University has got that, they talked about, it's called what? Munange. Look for Munange. You know, go there, talk. Don't die alone in your hostel. Yeah? If you feel like crying, cry. Crying is one of the things that builds emotions that are really, you know, onto your heart. Cry. By the time you cry for something after 30 minutes, you will be relieved. As simple as that. So just identify the emotions that you want to fight, sit down, make pointers on how to fight them. At the end of the day, you will feel free. Don't stick on something that has failed. Let it go. As simple as that. I think I'll leave, there is that agricultural kind of stuff. I think I'll leave it to Madame Elizabeth. Madame Elizabeth online, I think she will have to handle that part of it. Then how do girls realize their new potential? Realizing their new potential? I think I can have a colleague also come in and see how do these girls realize their potential. Thank you.
I say I question. But what I wanted to say is about how do we fight our emotions? And I don't want to contradict what my previous colleague have just said. I agree very much, absolutely, you know, that you must be in touch. You must first understand your emotions and then work with it. But in the question of leadership, you know, if we consider our humanity in leadership, our emotions is what makes us human. And I believe that, again, it comes back to the question of white supremacy and patriarchy and Eurocentric understandings and interpretations of leadership that is often almost like required of people, and especially women, in fact, both women and men. It almost like insists that you have to put your emotions aside. I want to say that if you're not in touch with your emotions, you will really be, in many ways, you will be harmful towards people, because one of the important traits of an authentic and solid leader is that such a leader loves people and they are sensitive to the emotions and the needs of people. So if you are going to have to put your emotions on hold or outside of your leadership imperative, it is, I don't know how you're going to be human and how you're going to be effective in understanding people's needs and responding effectively to people's needs. So I want to say, yes, I do believe that there's something about understanding your emotions as a leader. Why do you react in a certain way? Why do you feel intimidated? You know, those were some of the things that I had to consistently ask myself. Why am I silent in certain spaces, whether it's white spaces or spaces that is mainly led by men? You know, why am I silent? So constantly learning, and I heard that first question about confidence, learning to find your voice, but then also learning to be okay with your voice. You have a different way of seeing the world. You have a different way of understanding whatever the issue might be. And so I believe that it is important, you know, to accept first that your voice is different. And then when you hear your voice speaking about a particular issue, to learn to accept your voice. And the more you practice that, the more you become confident. I've had the benefit, and we have the benefit of speaking in our family. And, you know, I always say that's where we learn to in safe spaces, to learn to be good, solid public speakers. Hear your voice, get feedback, get challenged in a safe space, but never to be silenced. So I think that those are just some of the comments that I wanted to make. I don't know if there was a question or something that I missed that you wanted me to also respond to. Can't hear. I think you're on mute.
No, we can't hear you.
Master of Arts Education, Makerere University, Kampala. She's a pastor at Altar Ministries in Nkumba village. She was the past president of Rotary Club of Kampala West. She's a member of the Uganda Cancer Society Advisory Board Committee. She's a board member of Sanctuary Medical Foundation, a non-profit organization that focuses on sensitizing people about non-communicable diseases, with a major focus on vulnerable and economically poor in our community. Her current position is the director and founder of the ARC International Schools for the school-going children aged between 3 years to 12 years. Please join me to welcome Madam Wifla Miriam. I said that some of the participants are online. She's online.
Thank you very much. I hope I'm loud and clear. I would need a thumbs up to know that I can be heard.
Yes, you are loud.
Okay, thank you very much. As you heard, my name is Miriam Wipfler, and actually I'm very much attached to Nkumba because that's where my church is. But I'm also very excited because for this special day that we can come together and put our heads together, questions, and then we can be able to find a solution to one of the things which we need in our society. As you heard, I deal mostly with children, but of course in dealing with children, I also deal with mothers, I deal with fathers, I deal with grandparents, I deal with sisters, I deal with young girls because I also employ very young people. I also deal with young men. I also mentor young girls and young men. And I'm known as a singer of all sorts because especially when young people are getting married, I love to give advice. I love to hear from them. And I realize that sometimes as the changes go on in the world, we need to change with them. I'm also very excited today because today is International Men's Day. So all the men who are with us, we celebrate you and we are saying congratulations on your day. We have our Women's Day where we make a lot of noise, but also thank you for making noise on your day. I will, in the next 10 minutes, be quite brief because I know I'm standing between people's lunch and it's always not a very good time to talk before lunch, but I hope you bear with me because I've kept the excitement since 3 hours and I'll keep that same excitement. So thank you very much, previous speakers, and thank you very much, organizers. One thing I can say, which I'm very, very excited about, is the fact that we are here to make sure that we see a change. And as Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. I know there were questions being asked, how do I gain confidence? How do I change? How do I get there? But one thing I would like to encourage you is that you want to be the change you want to see in the world. And especially as women, sometimes we feel our hands are tied and we feel we are not there. We feel the confidence is not there, and probably because of our upbringing and probably because of what we've gone through, the experiences. And in most cases, we also hang in to what has happened in the past. I'll start by sharing what I know about women and education, because that's my field. And then from there, I'll leave you with a message, which I hope you take home and bring the change you want to see in the world. The former president of America had a wife called Eleanor Roosevelt. You might know more about the President Roosevelt, but you might not know about Eleanor. But there's something she said, which actually I want to start with. I'll start with her quote, because that quote, every time I go through a situation, I just remember her quote and I say, well, there we are. She says that a woman is like a tea bag, you know, the one for tea. You never know how strong it is until it's in hot water. So even with our gender issue, even with the struggles we go through as women, we should remember that we are like a tea bag until we get into that hot soup, until we're in that storm. It is when we get together and say now, or you wake up and say, I have to do a change. The previous speakers spoke about how we should make sure that we achieve. We should be good leaders. We should make sure that we go forward. Because I know as women or even as young girls, we go through a lot of struggles. At the moment, as I speak, I'll start with the female teachers I have. There are some who in between now have had children, got pregnant under COVID and have had to have children. Some of them is going to affect their coming back to work. Some of them have encouraged them come back to work. Some of them are saying they don't know, because especially one situation where one of the teachers said, you know, I got pregnant because I started living with this gentleman just to have a roof over my head because I was thrown out. So her situation is different. And you can see she's not happy, her confidence is gone, and because teachers haven't been earning, it becomes such a struggle. Then you have a case of girl child who is not going to come back. I know that there are also boys who are not going to come back to school, but there are also children who are not going to come back to school because they've become either maids or they've been married off, or because of the situation at home, the money is not there, and normally the girl is the last one to go to school. But there is also a situation whereby, yes, the lucky family, the children are going to go back to school. But we know that a lot has happened during the lockdown. Some of these children have been abused, either emotionally, sexually, or even physically. And they are wounded. We have a school psychologist, and luckily over lockdown, she's been very busy, more than ever. And you hear the cry, you hear the pain. So the girl child especially is not going to be the same after this lockdown. There is fear, there is the fear of the unknown, there is not knowing where to look for, what to do next. There's a young girl who was looking for a job, she's only 17, as a maid, and said, aren't you going back to school? She said, my hope for going back to school is not there. Why? She had a kid, she has a kid to look after. And by that time, she said she was 15 and a half, now she's just going to be 17. So there are many things happening in our communities, in our country, in our world. But we can have these meetings, but we need to find a way forward. We need to find that change. We need to get that gender equality, because we know it's a universal theme and we hear about it all the time. It's spoken about. But the problem is the pace is too slow, especially in Africa, especially in Uganda, especially in our communities. It's too slow. Because someone wrote and said that the gender equality in the year as we go now, it's only 16%. And if we continue at this rate, it will take another like 50 to 80 years before we see the change we want to see in the world. But not to discourage ourselves, the baby steps we take, the steps we take now, even from this dialogue today, are the steps which will take us forward, are the steps from the things we've had. Elizabeth talked about leadership. Diane talked about, you know, the changes we have to make ourselves. And the good thing is she said she's a teacher, and I know what it means. She's out there teaching. And then we had a talk about knowing where to go, especially as a student, as a girl child, as a girl student after school, what will happen. And we know that this is very, very key for us to make the changes. So as I was listening in, because I had a presentation, but now I've said, aside with the presentation, I'm just going to give you what I've named the 4 C's. And these 4 C's should be the take home which we want to see, the take home which we want to make sure that happens so that we become the confident women, the creators, you know, the women in the world who bring a difference. And I'm going to start by reading, before I give you the 4 C's, I'm going to start by reading something which should click something in you so that you can take the message home and go and illustrate. Because as a teacher, I normally like when I teach, it's not just to get the knowledge, but to apply the knowledge. And we also know that also in the Bible, we are told about faith, and that the faith we should have should be the faith with works. But the same with every time we learn, every time we hear. We've spent the last more than 3 hours listening in. But what is the take home? And I'm saying that even if it's one thing you're going to change in yourself, in your community, in your country, or wherever you are in your circles, So I'll read for you this message, and I hope from this message, when I give you the 4 C's, you'll be able to take home what you can change. It says, it's from Namidi Oswaga, and some of you have been sending it around on WhatsApp. It might come back to you, you might find it, but I thought it would be a good way to reflect. It says, treat people like mirrors and watch how you reflect in their eyes. Under normal circumstance, a mirror gives back a true reflection of what is before it. A few types of mirror will deform the images to reflect something different. When we smile at a mirror, a smile is reflected back. When you frown at the mirror, a frown is reflected back. When we clean ourselves and clean the mirror, a clean image is reflected. When you carelessly handle a mirror, it breaks down just like we break down whenever we are mistreated. Let us always treat others with care in order to get a fair treatment back from them. Avoid losing them whenever we handle them carelessly. For in most cases, we are a true reflection of how we treat others. And this reflection took me back to the Bible, where in Proverbs chapter 27, verse 19. Proverbs chapter 27, verse 19. In the Bible, it says, as in water, face reflects face, so a man's heart reveals the man. As in water, face reflects face, so a man's heart reveals the man. So who you are from the heart. You are who you want to be. It already starts from inside. It's not what is on the face. You know, you meet people and they're smiling on the face, but you don't know what's in their hearts. But it's from the heart. It's how we treat others. It also starts with us. As someone said, it starts with you. Do you love yourself? How will you give love to somebody else when you don't even love yourself? So it starts with us. And that's the first C, the change. We have to be the change we want to see in the world. It has to be you to change. It has to be you to accept yourself and say, I want to be this. My mother, she was born in a family where in the end, there were only 2 surviving. But the issue wasn't even money. The issue was because she was the girl child in the home, they told her she should stay home while the brother goes to school. And she was not taking that lightly. But they insisted as a family, and especially the own mother saying, no, you stay home because you are supposed to help with the garden, with everything as your brother goes to school. And luckily for us, when she gave birth, especially to the girl child, she said, the one thing I want my child to do is to be in school and have the highest education I want. But how many of us, or how many of those in the family have this privilege? Because we know that as a girl child or as a woman, even starting from a very early age, even under lockdown, we are supposed to be the ones in the home. We are supposed to be the ones either caring for the home. We are the ones to care less for ourselves and more for the people out there. So how do we change? How do we make this change? Today we've heard very, very carefully, especially from the speakers. They spoke about leadership. They spoke about putting ourselves on a higher, have a dream so that you go up higher. And the other thing I would like to add in this case, like my mother was so determined. Actually, she became a jack of all trades. She was a farmer. She was making sure that the children, my father was working, but then she made sure that we never lacked because she said, I know what it means. And as I speak now, all my sisters are educated, and it continues that she said even the granddaughters especially should be educated. To the extent that even the children who would come, or the workers who would come home if they are younger, they would end up going to school because she said they also have to go to school. So those are the changes we can be, to care for others, to not to mistreat the language we use, even women among ourselves. We look at others and say, hey, this one is like this. We don't celebrate others. We should. And that's the change we want to see. It starts with us, but as we go out, we have to make sure that we also want to see that change out there. The second C is create. Women, we are gifted. I think it was Diane who was speaking and saying she could be preparing to present, but she's sending a message and then she's making sure the maid at home is doing something. We are creators. And even in a home, we always say the fathers are the head of the families, but the mothers are the hearts of the family. And as a woman, we are the heart. We are the heart. It starts from inside. The changes we do might not be recognized immediately, but without the heart, the blood won't pump to the rest of the body. That's why you find that you're a daughter, you're a sister, you're a mother, you're a wife, you're a career woman, but at the bottom of it all, you are the one caring. You are the one with compassion. You are the one who gives comfort to others, because that's how we are created. Unfortunately, along the way, we are abused, there is violence, we are forgotten even in the boardrooms, the men are the ones making the decisions. But let's use our voices, let's use the platform, let's use our actions, because I belong to a Rotary Club, and in my Rotary Club, we made sure that we have a 50-50%, where 50% are women and 50% are men. I know that it has pushed the men to be a bit quiet and say, hey, the women are doing all the work, the women are the ones making the decision. But that's for a Rotary Club, and we do things for charity. What about in the boardroom? What about that career where you're going to be employed? Let's use that platform wherever we've been placed to make sure that we bring the change, to make sure that we create the influence, the change we want to see, to make sure that we use the talents God has given us to make the changes we want to see. The other C is character. The way we speak, the way we conduct ourselves, our character will either build us or bring us down. And as I speak to you today, whether you're a girl, a woman, a grandmother, a wife, a husband, a fiancé, whoever is online, your character, the way you behave, the way you talk to others, the way even in your workplace, you know, some things could be unconscious, but are you the type who biases others? Do you bring down others? Are you the one who actually you are saying you are equalities for everybody, but when it comes to promotion or recruitment or training, you are you are selecting and saying, no, this one won't perform, this one is a woman, women get pregnant while they're working. Are you the one saying, yeah, this one is from this area, I think those people are lazy? What are you bringing on the table as your character? Because when we talk about gender equality, we also talk of diversity. But as someone wrote, I can't remember her name, but I think her name is Myers, she said, diversity is being invited to the party, but inclusion is being asked to dance. So many times we want this diversity, but are we including the people we've invited? Because as we invite them to the party, we also want them to dance. That means that we have to include them in everything we do. And the last C I want to talk about is actually to celebrate. This week we were celebrating, I personally was celebrating a lady called Lukia Nakawombe Ulumba, the first Ugandan-born woman to attain the rank of Lieutenant Colonel in the UN Air Force. Actually, as I speak, I get goose pimples. And she is also a sickle cells activist, but she received the pipes for the highest order. And yet she was born here in Ichiti, in a village in Kasangati. She went to Namugongo Girls, she went to Ndeje Senior Secondary, and then she went to the States in 1995. But I celebrate her because she's achieved. And if we learn to celebrate each other, because women, I know, we have a tendency to bring each other down. Someone gets a promotion, you want to bring them down. Someone gets an office and you say, that office should have been mine. Let's learn to celebrate each other, not only as women, but also girls, as we lift each other up. Also, we learn to celebrate those who celebrate us. If you're married, your husband celebrates you, celebrate him in return. If your family is celebrating you, you celebrate them in return. There are things we could do to bring the change we want to see. But the equality we want in place, we have to do it by making sure that we create the change, we become the change, our characters change, we celebrate, and most importantly, we have to make sure that the confidence we've built is going to bring a change in the world we want to see. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you've gotten a take home. And I thank you all, and I hope this is not the first of the last, but it's the first of the many, many more to come. God bless you.
Cannot respect and love you if you don't have it yourself. So what you do to others is what they will do to you. So try in your character, then do not expect others to respect you. Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. I now invite our Mary to come and present our next guest speaker. Mary, please, can you come around?
Thank you, Madam. Our next speaker and our last speaker is one of our own, Niwaisho Wenipaida. She's a student of Nkumba University, pursuing a bachelor's degree in public administration and management, second year. She's the speaker for South Sudanese Young Women, Uganda chapter 2021. She has volunteered at World Vision, South Sudan as a surveyor concerning gender issues in 2019. She also volunteered as a role model in GRS South Sudan 2016. She is the current Minister for Gender and Equality in Nkumba University South Sudanese Student Association. She volunteered at Youth Union in South Sudan, Young Youth 2016. She worked with the Young Women Christian Association for 2 years, 2015, 2017. She started her primary education in Central Africa and completed her primary in South Sudan. She dropped out of school for 4 years after completing her primary education, and then she went back to school. So I think this is an inspiration and a lesson for us to learn, that how much you have challenges, mostly amidst this COVID-19, that we expect most of the girls to drop out. But at least when you have an opportunity to, stand up and get back, you should. So at this point, let us welcome Ms. Wenipaida for her presentation.
Protocols observed. I am by the name Nawiso Wenipaida. I am a student at Nkumba University, pursuing my bachelor's in public administration and management, as she stated. And a role model, I feel kind of ashamed because I myself plus the VP, we tried mobilizing young ladies and men to attend this dialogue, but it's unfortunate the whole room is empty, and I can't completing my primary when I was 15 years, and I'm a South Sudanese. In our country, we have a policy that primary ends in primary 8. After my primary 8, I dropped out due to some violence, domestic violence at my place where I was staying from my stepmom. But as a child who idea or spirit of the true calling, because I always feel like there is something that God is taking me towards. I dropped out. I stayed at home for 4 years, and after the pregnancy, I got the second pregnancy. When the first born was just 1 month, I mean 1 year, I got another one. It was not easy. Staying at home, I was brewing alcohol, local alcohol, for me to sustain myself. And my baby daddy, who was also, I was even ahead of him, so it was not something easy to do. Whenever I look at, I wish my past could be something that we can project here. You see me carrying alcohol with the baby on my back, going to the market to sell. But where am I today? Am I still there? No. We need to speak to our girls. COVID impact on our girls. I know there are thousands out there that have dropped out of school. By reaching out to them, we let them come back, please. I've seen the journey that I've traveled, going back to school after 4 years. And in class, I was just like, I didn't know what to say, because I felt my English itself was nothing compared to those who had smooth studying journey. To me, I could stay like this at a corner, and I was just there. What my co-presenter talked about is true, and having self-esteem is what brought me up to here. Because it's not easy to come out and be like you want to express yourself. It's not easy. And I'm proud of myself as one of the youngest lady in Africa. I promise you that I'm going to reach where I want to. Believe me. I must reach there, and I must have a queue after me. This is my promise to myself and the entire nation. I feel pity seeing a young girl at the age of 14, 15, carrying a baby, surfing, being on internet, just, you see them. You see ladies these days just posing a pic like this, just like that. Forgetting where we are going. We are just after our appearance, like my nails, my hair. By then, there was war in my country. We couldn't afford these good things. But my promise to my dad after that 4 years at home, he told me, I cannot pay you back. You're going to disappoint me again. I told him, Dad, mark my word. You're going to be surprised of how I'm going to become. Mark my word. And today, he normally calls me and be like, my daughter, my blessing is with you. Go. I got a call from Mary when she was calling about this dialogue. She told me, Nawiso, I want you to be one of the presenters. I said, but now, how am I going to manage and imagine talking in front of intellectuals and the whole school management? What will I even tell them? But again, my spirit said, no, you have something that you need to communicate, you go. So, coming back to the topic that I was given, it was about education and how it has in politics and leadership. If we look at our great women like Kadaga, it's because the impact of education on her has later been in politics and in power for so many years. When Kadaga will not be there, who will take her position? Since we are not, when they call for us to turn up for something, we just be like, like that. Who will be there? We have Malala from Afghanistan. She was shot. She was shot because she was talking of girl child education and the culture and the policy of Afghanistan couldn't allow that. They shot her, but still, despite being shot for what she was talking, where is Malala today? She's advocating for girls and young women to be educated. What is our role? What is our role as young ladies? We want men to first accept us that yes, we have accepted the responsibility and the equality. You come and be, no, it's we to fight for it. I'm not saying we should fight and be on top of men, no. We are fighting to be equal. Not to be on top, not to be walked upon, but to be equal. Let's look at the First Lady for America, Michelle Obama. She has advocated for girl child education for a very long time. And she cannot come all the way to the grassroots, to where we are, to talk of girl child education. I'm proud of the Dean of School of Social SBA, because he came up with the initiative. He initiated this program. That's why we are here. I'm proud of him. My dean, the dean of my school, is a lady. There was a time there was a debate, the school debates here. It was between schools, but there was no lady from my school, social science, who came out that yes, I want to be involved in that. All of us backslided. That's no. At least you would have informed us earlier than that. I felt bad, and she was not pleased with the decision. She was like, no, if I'm nurturing, mentoring young women, and when opportunities and time for us to debate with men, we say we want to fight with them politically, academically, but when opportunities come for us to exercise and give out our voices, we withdraw. I was also, I picked her point and I felt bad. Mary has been somebody who I'm close to, and she always advised me. She advises me on what to do, and I'm proud of her as a young lady. She has been a leader of South Sudanese Association within Nkumba, and now she's the outgoing vice president. What do we learn from Mary and our dean, and plus all the ladies who are in the house? I have friends outside, behind there. I normally interact with them, especially when it comes to marriage. My dear ladies, my dear fellow ladies, we know culture, and we know at some point it takes people back, especially us. Like back in my place, a lady is not supposed to get to study and be around the level of the man. No, you're not supposed to. But is that what we want? Gone are the days where women were just in the kitchen, our office were there. If you're a married woman, you can come out, you go to work, even if your husband is at home letting. And now there is this tendency of when you're at work, you can bring a maid, then the husband will again start seeing the lady. And because it's the culture, a woman must be in the kitchen and must do everything. So you'll be like, now, I don't want to lose my marriage, I don't want to lose my husband, let the maid go, and I sit down and take care of what the hell is that? What is that? Do we need to settle for less just to please men? No, not at all. We need to, we need at least educated women to be there. We need to speak from association, to be role models for those ones coming from lower level. So they need to learn from us. If they're just there, all we look at is the nails and the hair and look good. No, it can't help. There's my fellow lady here, she's a president for Azande Student Association, because I'm from Zande tribe, from South Sudan. She's called Julie. She was competing with her opponents. Then we gave her the votes, we backed her up. When you find ladies among themselves, they are like this. How are we going to unite and fight this equality that we want? We don't support ourselves. We are just there. It's true, like what she said. I'm one of those who don't associate mostly with ladies, like what she said earlier. Because if I want to discuss something genuine and that important, I go to men and I discuss with gentlemen. The outgoing president is my good friend. He always advises me that, please, the little you know, come out and talk. My humble request to all of us is, we really need to do something. We cannot continue having dialogues without implementing, without taking action. I traveled to Myanmar. Myanmar is one of the Asian countries, a neighboring country to Bangkok, because I gave up my voice. They had me, and I was chosen amongst those who have no gap in their studies. I traveled, I represented my country. I was alone from South Sudan. One was from Mozambique and one from Tanzania. I was exposed, I learned from other women from other parts of the world. I was like, now look at South Sudan, look at Zambia and the culture. It's not that we should keep quiet. There are opportunities out there that we need to grab them. I would have told Mary, now I'm preparing for my exams. I don't have that time to come and be here talking, but what did I do that? Anyway, I beg to stop here. I have distributed the task I was given. Let's go home and read and go through. As a young lady, my promise to the nation and to the entire Africa is I must work. I will work towards child education until my last breath. And I must see young girls being heard, and I must see that there is a safer environment for them to exercise themselves and to give up their voice. I beg to stop here. I remain Nawiso Wenefida from Nkumba University. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Nawiso, for that wonderful presentation. Her presentation have learned that life is a journey, and along this journey, at times you might find challenges and fail to achieve what you really for our rights and everything, but we are not united. We fight each other and we try to bring each other down, and that is not very good. So ladies here, when you see yourself see your friend doing something, don't fight that friend. Where possible, advise her and try to help her to achieve the desired objectives and goals. And she also said that action is still missing, much as we may have as many dialogues, as many conferences promoting women's rights and everything, but if action is not taken, and action begins with you, it is you to take action. Don't wait for anybody, don't wait for Nakabana, don't wait for Nawiso, but it is your personal journey. See that you try to take action and see that you shine. Now we are having another commercial break of questions and answers, but in the interest of time, we shall have only 2 questions. Anybody who is ready can give these questions to some of our guest speakers who are still here. I wonder if those who we had online are still there, but now I'm looking for those questions. Only 2 questions, only 2 questions.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Julie Samson Mezani. I had a question to our last speaker, that is Naviso Inapaita. This is my question. What did she do to come out of the situation she was in? What do I mean? Most of our girls, like she said earlier, when they give birth to 1 child, 2 kids, they tend to give up on education. They don't have that courage to go on again with life. They don't have that courage to go back to school. Because of other reasons, maybe the parents have failed to pay them back to school, or they don't believe anymore in themselves. So our speaker, Nawiso, what did you do? Which step did you take to come out of that? Thank you.
Any other question? I'm taking only 2 questions.
Yes, I'm Nkumba Alex from the School of SPA. My question is, let me say, how can we help girl child to get out of the cultural norm that force them to go beyond their own decisions?
Thank you very much. Let me take the microphone to Madam Nawiso because one of the questions was directed to her.
Thank you, my sister Julie. You asked for how I came out of the situation I was in. I wanted to say something brief. I was confident, but I dropped out of school. The time I dropped out of school, there was one morning after my 2nd child. I saw my colleagues whom I was with at school. They dressed well in their uniforms. They were just going to school. I entered my room. I cried. I was like, now, is this the future I'm going to have? Just to be at home? And my baby daddy used to go to school. I'm the one washing, cooking for him, ironing his uniform. He goes at the camp, and I'm just at home. I said, God, I'm done. Then I went out. I went back to my dad. He couldn't allow me to go back because he lost confidence in me. I looked around, I started just begging people. Then I promised everybody that I approached that, believe me, I'm going to implement what I'm requesting. Then from there, I joined school and I started engaging myself in activities that used to like refresh my mind, and I could, whatever activity at school I could join, and I had a solid group of friends who were also supportive to me. I decided to associate with the people who were supportive to me. Then from there, I said, no, I have something calling me, I must go. It's true that it's not easy for somebody being a mother, joining a motherhood at a tender age, and you go back to school with the breast of the size of breast big, and you look big and huge. To be in a class, it's not easy, but based on the advice, like encouragement from our neighbors, and when we speak out, if you're going through something, reach out to somebody and talk. The person can advise you. I've reached this level because of people have mentored me, and people have been behind me, and they have been there for me, not necessarily my family. I encourage us to reach girls in our communities and people, girls we have seen like enduring some situation and going through bad situation. Let's be open to them and we talk and discuss. They will come to life and at least have a better future because of our support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Nawiso. I think we have learned from her that if you connect to the right people, amidst the life challenges, these people will be willing to help you even when you have a contact. So thank you very much. And young lady, take that lesson seriously.
Thank you so much. I'm greatly touched by Nawiso's story. But thank you so much for getting out of that cocoon. You fought your way and you're still fighting. May you be blessed. There is a question of how do we need to fight, how do we need to help girls fight the cultural strings onto them. Issues that they cannot really solve themselves, but they are culturally attached. So this is what I can say. For anything, you have to, for you to solve anything, it's like I said previously, first understand what you want to solve. It's really hard to fight culture because culture is always part of us, and you cannot know where you're going unless when you understand where you're coming from, and where you're coming from is always part of the cultural norms that tie us to our behaviors. No, so now what can we do? Make this person understand the culture that she's attached to. Appreciate that culture, the way it is, whether bad or good. Then sit down and devise ways on how you're supposed to solve issues that are putting the girl child behind that are related to that culture. For example, we have issues where we say, I don't know whether it's really true, but I hear Muslims say that it's not so much important for this girl to go to school, you know? We have cases where Muslims are marrying girls at a tender age because they believe the only place where you belong to is marriage as a woman, you know? So, but thank God, such things are being phased out. It is all about continuous talking to people that are involved. In this journey of girl-child education, we cannot eliminate traditional leaders, cultural leaders, religious leaders, partners. When we're discussing such issues, we should have them on board. Because in most cases, this is where things tend to go wrong. You know, a head of the clan has said, get married, period. Keep silent, don't say anything, because the head of the clan has spoken. This head of clan may be speaking because he does not know, she does not understand these issues, right? I was reading a story before coming here. We all know the king from, is it Swaziland? You know, that one who normally, after some time, marries off this, they parade these young girls with breasts out, dancing out. That's culture, but then how can we face, you know, this culture? We must not fight openly, this is wrong, this is... Let us first understand why they were doing this, you know, appreciate whatever, why they were doing that. Then we try to talk to them and accept the modernities in culture. As I conclude, in Buganda Kingdom, we have that thing of the Naku, people who are coming from Buganda. You know, when the Kabaka is going to marry, then there is that title girl, Naku, she's supposed to be a virgin, etc., etc., etc. But it is phased out, it's just ceremonial, you know, because there is no way we can have a young girl of 15 now sleeping with a king as a norm before he marries off officially the wife. So I think we just need to involve the cultural leaders, religious leaders, let them understand the modernities that are coming up. We are not phasing out the cultural norms, but we are telling them, please understand, with these current modernities, this is what we are saying. Can you please save the girl child? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Diana Chibuka, for that wonderful summary. Now, at this moment, I would like to invite Mrs. Hilda Birire Chobe, who is the head of
means that we are not left behind, and we have a big hand clap for that. And secondly, I want to say that for the gentlemen who are in this room, we also want to celebrate you because it is your day, but we are talking our issues. Isn't that great? Wow. So that's why I say that I don't want to keep saying girl child, because I still think even the young child who would be born today and they hear girl child, they'll say, oh, I think there's that girl child thing. So I want us to face up that girl child thing because our battles are already being fought. As I stand here, my name is Hilda Chobe Pidilwe, the head of Department ICT. Maybe some of you have not met before, but I'm so proud of myself because so many speakers have said, love yourself first, and then others will. So what is my reflection? I'm here, by the way, to give a vote of thanks, not a speech. But as I give a vote of thanks to the previous speakers, I want to say that everyone has said it all about what we need to know. From education, as we go to school, what are we learning? Are we going to say, for me, I'm a girl, I'm going to do this course because I'm a girl? Because in most of the classes I've attended, I'm an IT background up to now. I'm doing my PhD, but still in information systems management. But in most of the classes I've been to, you'll find that there are few ladies in IT because probably that girl child that IT is for men. That is what people wanted to turn into, and I said no. So to all those who are encouraging the girl child to go to school, to go to politics, and to also the professions, I want to say thank one who has been our speaker. They have said it all, and we want to value and appreciate your time. Thank you very much all for attending, and we wish that as we leave this room, let us drop the girl child, but let us move with our heads high and say, if they can do it, then we can also do it. So if you are the reflection, what are you doing? Is what you're doing convincing people that there's no difference between you and a male? Otherwise, if you still say that I'm going to have that, I'm a woman, no, then it means that even when it goes to politics, you'll be left behind. Even if it goes to profession, you'll be left behind. Academics, you'll be left behind because you keep saying, because I'm a woman. Do it the way they do it, and then together we can do it as one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Hilda. Can we give another loud clap for everybody? At this moment, I would like to request the guest speakers to remain behind, and our guild president and other guild members who are around for a group photo and some small interactions. The rest of the group, you can go for your other programs. Thank you very much. I would like to appreciate our technical team for all the work they have done to make this possible, and everybody who has participated physically and those online. Thank you very much. Have a blessed week.